It's time for the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth, financial literacy educator and speaker, entrepreneur, and chairman of the board of a bank in formation. Take charge of your financial future with your personal bank. Now here's Ference Toth.
Welcome to the Your Personal Bank Show. So today I'm going to do something very special. If anybody who's listened has heard me do, I do an annual talk on the Wheel of Life. And this is something I've done actually for over 20 years because this is something that impacted me tremendously. I learned this from a talk from Peter Daniels. And he, at the time at least, was the second richest man in Australia. And he shared how this Wheel of Life tremendously changed his life and impacted his life. And I like to do this at the beginning of the year, sort of a time when people are New Year's resolutions and setting goals and all that. And we all know that the vast majority of people don't follow through their New Year's resolutions more than a few weeks, which is really sad. There's some reasons behind that. I'm going to share those things to help be more successful in all aspects of your life. And again, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I've done all these things perfectly at all times because I haven't. I mean, I'm a human being. I've failed at times too. But knowing what to do is half the battle, right? And so this is going to give you a manual of what to go. And by the way, you can look up the Wheel of Life. This is not a new idea. You can look it up anywhere online or whatever. But the original concept was basically attributed to Paul J. Meyer back in the 1960s. He had actually founded something called the Success Motivation Institute. And he was a thought leader and a coaching industry pioneer. So if you look up, Wheel of Life or Paul J. Meyer, you'll find it online. And the original Wheel of Life, which is kind of what I've gone with, I found I'm kind of a traditional kind of guy, Usually when somebody comes up with something like this, and, it had such an impact. Yes, there's been tweaks to it over time and all that, but the original idea usually is the best. That's what I've found. It's inspired, okay? And so what the Wheel of Life is if you think about it a minute, if you want to look it up, again, look it up. It's Wheel of Life by Paul J. Meyer. You're going to see something that looks like a wheel, and there's 6 categories. And those 6 categories, they're shaped like pie shapes, right? And those 6 categories are financial and career, mental and educational, physical and health, social and cultural, spiritual and ethical, and family and home. So in other words, what he did is he divided each of us, our lives, into 6 categories. And, it's interesting that we, as human beings, I'm going to share some more of this stuff as we go forward, to be successful, to be happy, to accomplish the things that we really want to accomplish in life, we have to, we like to strive. We like to achieve. Human beings thrive in accomplishing things. Now, that's even more true for men, generally speaking, than women, but women also thrive in accomplishing things too. Don't get me wrong, but it's just built into, it's how we're wired, like I said, particularly guys, how we're wired, but women too, okay? And if we're not accomplishing things, if we're not moving forward, if we're not improving, we're usually not happy. We can be many times depressed, down, frustrated. Life is not good. And so what I'm going to try to say is by focusing on these different areas and doing things to make improvements in these areas, if you haven't been happy, okay, you haven't been satisfied, you have regrets or any of those other kinds of things or whatever, or if you wonder why things, you haven't accomplished what you want to accomplish in life and you're being held back or you feel like you've been held back, folks, this can answer a lot of your questions, okay? And it can solve a lot of the problems. So some key things to understand about the wheel in the 6 areas, okay? Most of us, again, it's, financial, mental, physical, social, spiritual, and family, okay? And, we're creatures that, again, we were created to accomplish and do things. And when we're struggling in one or more of these areas, that's when life gets tough. That's when we have challenges. That's when it gets frustrating, okay? And I'm going to use some examples. Okay, I'm a financial guy. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business guy. I'm on the board of a bank and all these kinds of things. But I'm also a dad. First of all, a husband and a dad. So I have a family life that's extremely important to me, okay? Mental and educational, I mean, if you've been listening to the show for any period of time, you kind of know I enjoy teaching and educating and helping people. So that's a very big part of my life. And I'm very, I always say people who are coachable. I mean, I found the people that are most successful in life are always learning and growing and are eager learners. And I feel like I put myself in that category. I've always enjoyed learning new things and enjoyed just how I'm made. Not everybody's that way, but that's the strength of mine. Physical and health. There's been times in my life the physical side and health side has been great. And there's been times it's not been so hot. In fact, this past year, in 2020, that was an area I had real struggles in because I was in an e-bike accident, which is an electronic bike. First time I ever rode one, and going along was a lot of fun. Had a great time, and literally I was going from a gravel to a pavement, about a 3-inch lip there. The motor was still on. I thought I had it off. It kicked in, the chain broke, the seat dropped, and the bike just literally threw me off like a bucking bronco, just totally surprised me. And I was moving along, not that fast, but fast enough. So I'm going, next thing I know, I'm just flying through the air. Of course, landed on concrete and slid a ways, but I landed on my right wrist. I'm right-handed. I broke it. And not only broke it, I broke a piece of the bone off, and And so I had to have surgery and plates and 6 screws and all. It wasn't fun. So in August, I had surgery, and first time I'd ever broken a bone in my body, and they were surprised that I hadn't broken anything because given all the things I've done in my life, I've climbed, I've played rugby in college. I mean, there were frankly, on the rugby team that year, I remember there was, we were ranked in the top 10 in the country. So I was on a very good rugby team, collegiate level, and it was like 2 guys on the team that didn't break something that year, and I was one of the 2. So I've been very fortunate. I've raced horses and broke horses, never broke anything then either. So, a lot of people doing that stuff. So the fact that I hadn't broken anything, so this was all new to me, and the rehab, the surgery went great and all, but then later I had some complications, and the rehab, and I'm still, even today, I went about 2-3 months where I really couldn't use my hand, and I'm right-handed. Folks, try using a mouse or computer, or just even typing an email with one hand, hunt and peck method, and it's your it's your left hand. I'm right-handed. It's not easy. It took far longer to just respond to an email, for example, which in my business, I get a ton of emails, with clients and all kinds of stuff. So this year, it's a simple example, but my wheel, that part of my life, was not, went from I was doing good. I was working out. I was getting really good shape again and stuff like that because I'd been making a point of it. And then it, took a major turn for the worse. And I've had to work on it since, and I'm working to get back, right? It had a major impact is my point. So my point is simple. When an area of your life is weak, not doing well, has a huge impact on your life and how it goes and how smooth it is. And so it's not something to trifle with, if you know what I'm saying. The next area, of course, is social, then spiritual, and family. So my point is, I deal with all these things too, just like everyone else. We all do. We're all human beings. And we're social creatures, and we're, if we don't have a good social life or family or whatever, we just got through the holidays, for example. And, a great example of that is where, the holidays are, for a lot of people, they, great time of the year. They love it, like myself. It's a great time to spend with loved ones and family and all that, and brings back a lot of great memories growing up and such. But for a lot of people, not so much. It was the opposite, right? And it's the loneliest. It's also known as the loneliest time of the year. And again, it depends on somebody's situation and whether they have loved ones in their life or not. So Christmas and such can be really, really a negative or bad time for those people. And I feel for them. So the key is, so this is what Peter Daniels the talk that, I I took copious notes, and I read on it and researched, did a lot of stuff since then. But the key is, again, if you draw a circle, and then you have 6 pieces of pie, if you will. So it's like a pizza or a pie, and you slice it in 6 pieces, right? So you got the 6 areas, like I stated earlier. The financial, the mental, the physical, social, spiritual, and family, right? So now here's the key to helping you move forward on understanding goal setting and being successful and accomplish things in life and all that kind of stuff. The key is you have to be honest with yourself. And you have to be honest with yourself in terms of rating yourself from a 1 to 10 on each of those 6 areas. And only you can answer that, and only you can be honest. I mean, you have to be genuinely honest to make a difference. But if you're willing to do that, and you ask yourself from a financial standpoint, for example, where am I as a 1 to 10 financially? Okay, and it could be total amount of dollars, it could be assets, it could be income, it could be any number of things. It'd be different for each person. And an amount that's a 10 for one person would be a 5 for another, or a 2. You see what I'm trying to say? So it's going to be different for everyone. There's no right answer. But you got to think to yourself, what kind of income or what kind of assets or what kind of whatever would you feel like, you would be satisfied, comfortable, you're good. You know what I'm trying to say? And you would give yourself a 7 or 8 or 9 or maybe even a 10 on. You know what I mean? What is that number? What is that amount? You got to really think about that. We're going to use a quick example again because I'm a financial guy, and we'll go into the other areas too. So don't get me wrong. I'm not going to ignore the other areas, but we'll start there. It's at the top of the list, so why not? I talked to a guy today, or not today, but a few days ago, I should say, and it's really funny. I got to tell you this. So he says, I get this text. He goes, I'm sitting here with one of my buddies, and it's one of my longtime clients. He's a good friend of mine. We've become friends over the years, and I've done business with his entire family, frankly, over the years with the Your Personal Bank concept, taking control of money, reducing taxes, reducing market risk, having access to more funds, creating positive arbitrage. In fact, this gentleman, Rance, this buddy of mine, he lives up in Seattle, and he's a big real estate investor. I mean, they do a lot of real estate investing, a lot of houses, lots of projects going on all the time. They're very successful at it. And him and his family have been doing it for a long time. So my point is, so they use Your Personal Bank. He's a huge fan because it's created, help create more money for them, more positive arbitrage. It's increased the rate of return on their real estate deals and reduce their taxes, give them access to more money, all this stuff. So he's a huge fan. So this guy, he's texting me, he goes, I'm sitting with my buddy Rance, and he's been after me for several years, in fact, saying, look, I need to, you should talk to me. And he goes, and I finally acquiesced, said, okay, fine, I'm going to talk to you. Well, guess what? I'm going to tell the rest of the story in the next segment because I'm up on a hard break, so stay tuned. Don't miss it.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to Your Personal Bank Show, and my sound engineer is not happy with me. He was waving frantically, and I was off on a story in the last segment, and, I got on a roll, and sometimes I lose track of time. Anyway, hopefully he can fix this. But anyway, I'm sure he has. Today we're talking about the Wheel of Life, and this is something I've shared. I do this annually. I've done it for over 20 years. I've been sharing this idea. It's if you don't know what it is, look up Wheel of Life. It was created by Paul J. Meyer. You can check it out. And it talks about the 6 different areas of our life that's important for us to be successful and happy, frankly. And, before I forget, too, because I tend to forget this, because I'll be sharing some of these concepts and some of these ideas actually at the Business Minds Unite on Thursday, January 13th at the Renaissance Phoenix Downtown Hotel. I'm going to be speaking. They actually have me as the last speaker, as the keynote speaker, so it's quite an honor. But they got a number of great, powerful speakers talking about different things, learning the business skills, to grow business with confidence. So if you have a business or you're looking to grow your business, or you want to start a business, whatever, there's going to be a lot of great people there to learn from. There's going to be mentors available. I mean, all kinds of good stuff. And get around the right type of people, which is a great way. I'm going to talk about this further with the Wheel of Life, which is a great way to move forward and become more successful in your life, in your business, all that kind of thing. So again, go to businessmindsunite.com for tickets or more information. And if you use the promo code YPB, that's for your personal bank. So it's YPB. You can get 75% off tickets. So love to meet you there. So, hey, if you come in and you heard about this from the show, definitely come up to me and let's chat. So love to meet you. So anyway, again, it's businessmindsunite.com. Anyway, Wheel of Life. So the story I was sharing is with this friend of mine, Rance, who's his buddy who reached out to me and said, hey, Rance has been after me for years about need to talk to you. So again, thinking about the financial aspects of the wheel, okay? And he said, he's been very successful. He's earned a lot of money in his career, but as he pointed out, he said he wanted to be able to step back in about 4 or 5 years and do something else. He wanted to change direction. And he goes, I realized I got to get my financial house in order. And so some of the questions I was asking, like, what's his annual expenses, and he or monthly expenses. And he goes, I've always made money, and he goes, I'm ashamed to say I never really done a budget. I really don't know how much I spend a month, and there's always just been enough money. And I said, that's great, but if you're going to start planning like for being able to retire, maybe from this job, which is he says a high paying position, to doing something that he actually loves to do that doesn't pay so much. He's got to have so much to live on and all that stuff. He's got to start planning, which he fully understood. And he says, I really got to sit down. And I said, go to your bank account and just kind of figure out what you spend in a month on normal month. But my point is, a lot of people don't really pay that much attention sometimes to different areas of their life, and then they wonder why they're not where they want to be, right? Because one of the things you've always heard is if you want to hit a target, well, first of all, you got to have a target to hit, right? Now, you can shoot an arrow, and you can just shoot it in the air, but, what's the point? If you're trying to shoot and hit something, you got to have a target, and then you got to know what you're aiming for, right? So that's one of the things I work with people and help them with. Obviously, I've done that for over 20 years. And if you need some help or want some assistance or some advice, by the way, I don't charge any fees to talk to anybody. We don't charge any management fees. If we recommend a product, we get paid by the companies who pay us. So it's really kind of an almost unique situation. People love working with us. And it's not high pressure or anything. I'm just going to try to educate you like you hear on the show. But it's toll-free 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com if you want some help in the financial world arena, reducing taxes, offset inflation, increase the rate of return, create positive arbitrage, all the stuff we talk about. You've heard me talk about many, many times on other shows. Anyway, some of the other areas are like mental and educational, like I said, physical and health. I talked about how I had challenges with my wrist last year. This last year, breaking it. Social and cultural, of course, that's, we're social creatures. A lot of people have dealt with a lot of that this past couple of years with COVID, with all the shutdowns and stuff. And, getting shut down from the social activities and the events. I know we went to a Christmas party. My daughter, I've shared this on occasion. She's a professional model. Teenage model. She was actually, we're proud of her, Karina _Sailor on Instagram. If you want to check it out, it's Karina with a K, Karina _Sailor, SAYLER. Check her out. She has something like 35,000 followers on Instagram, and she was actually voted one of the top 10 up and coming young models in the United States. She's been on an Italian Vogue and over 50 other magazines. She signed with Ford and models and LA models and all this stuff. So she's done really well. We've kept her in balance. We've kept a balance with her, but with my wife helps her with that mostly. And my point is, I'm proud of my daughter. If you couldn't tell, but I actually totally forgot what I was going to talk about. That's terrible, isn't it? Oh yes, now I remember. So we Ford Modeling Agency, they have an annual Christmas party. Well, last year they didn't do it because of COVID, but they did it again this year, and it's been 2 years since everybody'd seen each other. And the comments were interesting because everybody was like hugging each other and saying, "I haven't seen you in 2 years. It's been so long, and I really miss you." And we caught up with some friends who were there, and we went out to dinner with them afterwards. And we hadn't caught up with them in a long time either because everybody got shut in, so to speak. And it really brings to light how social we really are as human beings. And when we have that taken away, how impactful and how devastating that can be. And we've seen, like my mom, she was high risk. She was like, I would talk to her on the phone. She didn't want to be around anyone for a while until the vaccines came around because, she was the high risk category by far. And she goes, I would talk to her and she goes, I'm just bored out of my mind. And, no, she can't see anybody. She couldn't go anywhere. She couldn't do anything. And it was just really, really sad. And it can be very depressing and lonely. And, so these are important things. And, of course, spiritual and ethical and family and home are very important. So here's the thing here's what I want to share and start moving forward on this goal-setting stuff. I think we understand these areas are all important. And frankly, and the last thing I'll share on this is, I'm a financial guy, and I talk to a lot of people, of course, on the financial realm, oftentimes more than anything else. But I also say, look, as important as money is and finances, it's no more important than any other area of your life. And if you could have all the money in the world, but if you don't have your health, for example, you're probably not happy. I know people like that, or have no family, or have no social connections, really. They're not happy people in general, okay? So money's not going to make you happy, okay? So, just like other stuff won't. You have to have some of all of this stuff and have some kind of balance in it. So here's the key. Look at these 6 areas and rate yourself on 1 to 10 on the 6 areas, okay? And be honest about where you're at and where you want to be. And the thing is, when your life is in balance, okay, what that means is each of the 6 areas are relatively equal. You might have some 6s and some 8s or whatever, but, you're going to have relatively, no wide ranges. That's what you're striving for. So if, let's say, you're roughly on average 6 all the way around, well, the goal is to move to 7, okay? And you're going to have a fairly balanced, pretty happy life, fairly smooth, okay? But that's the exception, not the rule. So what I'm going to tell you to do here is I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned in this next segment, because I'm going to share with you how most people's lives are, and then what we need to do to get back. We're out of balance, in other words, which makes us unhappy in general. How do we get things back in balance and increase our happiness and our success? So stay tuned. Don't miss it.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to Your Personal Bank Show. We're doing a very special thing today where I do this annually. It's called the Wheel of Life. If you're not familiar with it, go just look it up online. It's Wheel of Life, or by Paul J. Meyer, who's credited with creating this. And it, again, talks about the 6 areas. He divides our life into 6 areas that are important to, well, basically every human being on planet Earth. Okay? And to be successful, to be happy, to have balance in our lives, we have to be somewhat successful in each of these areas. And each of these areas need to be, for us to have balance, has to have somewhat relatively equally successful in these areas. In other words, if you pick each of these areas, the financial, mental, physical, social, spiritual, and family, if you choose in each of these, rate yourself 1 to 10. Where are you at? This is the key to goal setting and becoming successful in life in all areas. And be honest with yourself and rate yourself. And if all your areas are relatively equal, you're pretty much in balance. So if you're 6s all the way around, rough on average, your goal should be to raise each of the areas to a 7. You're not going to move a 6 to a 10. Okay, that's not realistic in most cases. But focus on moving each of the areas up 1 if they're relatively equal. But again, that's the exception, not the rule. That most people are not there. How most people are. Oh, by the way, if you're like 2s all the way around, you're in balance. You have a very small, and you draw a circle around on those 2s, you're going to have a very small wheel, which means your life's in balance, but you're not going very far very fast. You're just not going to get very far. So if you're wondering why life's pretty smooth, you don't have a lot of challenges, but you're not getting anywhere, it's because you're like 2s or 3s all the way around. You know what I'm saying? So get it to 3s or 4s. You see what I'm trying to say? And you make your wheel bigger, and you'll get moving farther, faster in life, okay? But how most people's lives are, like mine was this past year, is we have areas where we might be 8, 9, 10 even, but we have other areas where we're, down, 5, 3, 4 2s or 1s even, And that's when stress happens. That's when our life's out of balance. Because if you have an 8 in one area, for example, and you have a 2 in another, and you draw that line around that wheel, you got a flat spot, right? And it's kind of like driving on a flat tire. How smooth is the ride? And the answer is it's not. Boom, 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 boom. That's how you're going through life. So like I said, this last year when my health was a problem because I broke my hand in a bike accident, I was having a lot of struggles, and I had to go through surgery. I had to rehab it. I had to spend extra time and effort in getting my hand back recovering and working again. And that's a very simple example. It could apply to money. It could apply to your family, your spouse, kids, spiritual, social, physical, any area. Doesn't matter. In other words, you can see folks that are very, very wealthy who have bad health would probably give up all their wealth for good health if they could, right? Or vice versa. You see folks that are in great shape and they're broke. Are they happy? When you get to talk to them and realize who they are, what they're about, probably not. People that are upset and unhappy around the holidays, Christmas time and stuff, oftentimes because their social or family situations are not good. And so those times of year bring it more to light, and then the loneliness and unhappiness comes to light far stronger. That's why. So again, the key is identify the area of weakness, or one or two areas that are true weakness of yours. And what you need to do is you focus on improving those areas. So, and again, I'm going to focus on the financial side for a minute, because that's, again, what I do with people the most. When you have an area of weakness, whether it be financial or health or any other family or whatever it is, you have to overcorrect, oversteer, overfocus for a period of time to get things back in balance, to be happier and have more success. In other words, and a great analogy is, if you have a ship that's going across the ocean, let's say, it's a large ocean liner, and halfway across the ocean, the captain, the sudden navigator, or whatever, suddenly realizes we're off course. And so what do they do to adjust course on this big ocean liner? Well, the first thing they do is they crank the wheel, right? They crank that wheel to turn the ship, right? Crank it hard. But what happens? Well, at first, almost nothing. In other words, they're oversteering, right? To change the direction, but the ship slowly starts to turn, and eventually it does. This is similar to how a lot of people, once they identify, hey, my finances are a mess, or my health is a mess, or my family life's a mess, whatever it is, and so they start doing the right things, start fixing it, but then get frustrated because nothing happens right away. Look, folks, in most cases, you spent some time, oftentimes years, of bad decisions. Don't expect a few good decisions or actions all of a sudden to wipe that away. It takes time. Stay tuned in the next segment. I'm going to share a story that really illustrates this and really, again, made a huge impact on my life. So I want to share it with you, and hopefully it'll do the same for you.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. And again, we're doing a very special annual Wheel of Life episode with Your Personal Bank. This is something I've been sharing, for over 20 years. I do this annually. I used to do it with my sales staff and my company. They would ask for it after a while because this was so impactful in my life and so many of theirs that people wanted to hear it again. And the Wheel of Life, you can look it up online. It's nothing new. It was created in roughly 1960s by Paul J. Meyer, so you can check it out. And the wheel, again, is you draw a circle. It has 6 sections, so it's like a pizza or a pie that's cut into 6 pieces, right? And the 6 areas are financial, mental, physical, social, spiritual, and family. And to be successful in life, to be happy, we have to have some sort of balance in all 6 of these areas. We have to be at least somewhat successful in each of these areas. In other words, we can't have, be an 8 or a 10 in the finances and have lousy health and be happy in most cases. Very few people are, right? In other words, you can't have bad family relationships or social situations or mental or whatever and be great in the others and expect your life to be smooth and balanced and you be happy, because you're probably just not going to be. We are designed to accomplish things. We're designed to strive. That's who we are. This is how we were created, okay? And to grow in each of these areas is the key to success, key to happiness, key to balance in life. And this, again, has made a massive, huge impact in my life. The key is, again, take each of these 6 areas and rate yourself a 1 to 10 and be honest. The more honest you are, the better. The more successful you'll be at this. And then identify those areas where you have weakness. Most people do. Most people have some weakness in one or more of these areas. Very few people are pretty balanced in terms of, they're all, roughly 6s all the way around, or 7s or 2s all the way around. Those that are 2s or 3s aren't getting very far in life, but their life's in balance. They don't have a lot of stress. They're just not going to go very far because they got a really small wheel. Because you draw a circle, you rate them all, and then you connect a line all the way around. It creates a wheel, right? You might have a 6 wheel, you might have a 2 wheel, you might have an 8 wheel on average. And if your wheel's fairly smooth, relatively equal in each of the 6 areas, you're going to have a pretty balanced life. But again, most people are out of balance in one or more of those areas. So they're really, really strong in several areas and might be really weak in one or more of these other areas. And it's those other areas you got to focus on. So if your weakness is financial, get some help. Talk to somebody. Contact me. I work with people like that all the time. Toll free 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. If your area of weakness is mental or educational, then get a mentor or start reading in that area, or take some classes, get more education, start reading, gain more knowledge, more expertise, okay? Just do it. I became a reader years ago. I was not a big reader, by the way, out of college. And I met some people, got involved, and who were big, huge readers and had an impact on me. And for me, actually, I'd never read a success book in my life, okay? And I'm in my 20s, right? And this one guy kept trying to get me to read, a friend of mine kept trying to get me to read these books. And, he was big into the success, positive mental attitude and all this stuff. And I thought it was a bunch of bunk, frankly, okay? And, I've never been exposed to any of that kind of stuff. Well, he finally gave me a book by Og Mandino, which today is still my favorite author. And I believe the first book I ever read was The Greatest Miracle in the World by Og Mandino. And it was a small book, easy read. It was a story. It was a phenomenal story. In fact, I sat down to start reading it begrudgingly because I promised him I would. It was like, I remember it was a Saturday night, and we were going to catch up for that Sunday, I think, for lunch or something. And he made me promise I would read some of it before we caught up. I sat down. I thought, I'll read a couple chapters and go to bed, right? I stayed up. I think till like 2 in the morning. I couldn't put the book down. I finished it in one sitting. You can do that in a few hours. It was that good a story. And then it made me want to read more of Og Mandino. I ended up reading all of Og Mandino's books. And then I said, well, what else is out there? And then I started reading, Dale Carnegie and all these other things that are, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it just went on from there, right? And I became a reader. And I gained a ton of knowledge and wisdom and all that, because I came to learn that we're really a combination of the people we hang out with and the books we read. So if you want to raise your mental and educational aspect of yourself, of who you are, you want to read good books and hang around good folks. And I saw something not too long ago, by the way. It was a study showing that the average CEO in America, this was eye-opening. The average American, by the way, reads, I think it's about 2 books a year. That's the average. So obviously a lot of people are reading none. And something like, I think 1.5 of those are romance novels, by the way. So in other words, the average American reads like half a book a year. That's not a romance novel. The average CEO in America reads 50 books a year. Now, those are busy folks. You're running we're talking Fortune 500 CEOs. These are people who are busy. They're running big companies, and they average reading a book a week. I don't think the excuse of I don't have time applies when you look at them, right? In other words, we have the time if we wanted to make it. We just don't have the priority. I mean, let's be real. What do most people do? Watch TV, play video games, whatever, right? And I do some of those things, but it's pretty limited because I don't have time to do those things because I'm doing other stuff like reading. And again, if you're not a reader and you want to improve your life and be more successful and more happy, become one. I'm going to encourage you to do that. And if you have a hard time with it, start with Og Mandino. It's great stories, I'm telling you. But physical and health, I shared this earlier today, if health is an issue, you got to do what you got. That's another frustration with this whole COVID thing. Our health people, the health, they have no credibility because what is one thing our doctors have always told us, like our entire lives? Eat right, exercise, get plenty of rest, right? Lose weight, all those things. They've never once said any of those things. And let's face it, people that are healthier don't get as sick, less likely to get any virus, not just COVID, okay? So we could have offset a lot of that just by getting in better shape, right? So if you're not in great shape, do what you need to do. Hey, get a workout partner, do the Fitbit stuff. But there's all there's free training things, there's groups you can join online. You can go to YouTube. There's everything in the world. You can join a gym, whatever it is, but do something to cause you to change your habits to improve your health. And a lot of times a workout buddy is maybe one of the best ways to do it. Social and cultural, okay? Get involved with something social, okay? I mean, I love playing, I play trombone. I play for a lot of churches and jazz groups and stuff. And those are social events, doing a concert and the practices and the rehearsals and everything around it. A lot of my social interaction comes from those kinds of things. And then there's parties and there's events and there's friends and, all those kinds of things that, give you that social or cultural interaction, right? We're social creatures. That's how human beings are made, okay? I know some more personalities are more social than others, but we all crave it to a degree. COVID's really brought that out. Spiritual and ethical. I know this is a tough one for a lot of people because it's not politically correct. But you know what? That's how we were created. There's a creator that made us with these desires in us, okay? And what's ironic is whenever there's a spiritual void, mankind, men and women will create or get involved or create something to replace it. Not as many people in the United States, for example, attend church and things like that as they did historically, right? But yet so far more of them are like really religious, if you will, about government and, a lot of things that, let's face it, these leftists that all they think about and focus on is, fundamentally changing our society and government. You can't tell me they're not religious. In fact, they're almost like religious fanatics. It's just their religion happens to be government or socialism, right? Folks, it's a religion, okay? Whether they like to admit it or not, and a lot of them will say they're atheists and all that stuff. You know what? Many of them are more religious than like Christians or Jews are, frankly, because they're more adamant, or even Muslims or whatever. They're more fervent about their religion. Folks, that's the way you got to look at it. And why you can't talk to them logically sometimes is because it's a religious fervor. Mankind, human beings, are religious. It's just their religion they don't call it that, but that's what they are. They believe in something bigger than themselves, okay? A higher power, a calling, a higher thing, right? And fundamentally changing our society and government is a higher calling for a lot of people. They are very religious. And I've said that to their face sometimes. They don't like hearing it necessarily, but that's the reality. Last one, family and home. I think most people know that. If I always say, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. If you're married, you get where I'm coming from. If you're married, you have a spouse and that kind of thing, or family, kids, all that. Obviously, for most people, that's something that's very important. And when people ignore that or take those kinds of things, those relationships for granted, maybe they work too hard. They're a workaholic, right? They're in the office. Their relationships, their home life suffers, right? So the key is, I'm going to use an example of a couple I was working with not too long ago, and it was really cool because they were having some real financial struggles. They were really great on all of these other areas, by the way. Family life, all that was awesome. And I said but they were really struggling financially, and I said, look, they had a debt situation, and I said, you've got to clean this up. And the only way he could see to do it, I said, what can you do? And they finally came up with, well, the husband and wife could work extra hours. The company was offering overtime. This was 3 years ago. He goes, yeah, but they were very, very family oriented, and he was hesitant to do that. And I said, here's the thing, this is causing you stress. This is a problem, right? And he goes, absolutely. I said, you don't think the family feels it? He goes, yeah, they do, and because these kids weren't young, so they knew it. And I said, here's the thing, what if you went to the family and you said, hey, Dad's going to have to work some overtime for, we figured out probably 6 or 8 months. He can make the extra money to knock down the debt and get things back in control. So Dad's going to work some overtime for 6 or 8 months, get this debt situation. Of course, don't create more debt, right? Cut the credit cards, right? And the family will probably get on board with you. And then you'll step back and we'll go do something fun and we'll go back. But we got to get our life back in balance because right now it's out of balance. And he did that. He called me back, and I've talked to him many times since, and they did get all that straightened out. He goes, it was amazing. The family jumped on board. They were all excited. They were, thank you, Dad. We've been wanting you to do something like that and take charge of this. And we know you'll be happier, and we'll all be happier. And they had less family time for a while. They understood that. But in the long run, the family was better off, and they had less stress. They were happier, and he thanked me repeatedly every time we talk. So my point is, again, if something's out of balance, bring it back in balance by over-focusing on it temporarily. I get out of balance temporarily. You're out of balance. Over-focus on that area to bring it back in balance temporarily. And the last thing I'll share with you about this, if you're serious about actually making a change and improving your life, becoming more successful and becoming more happier, is gain a mentor, particularly in the area you're weak. Somebody you respect, an accountability person. Because we can make excuses to ourselves all the time. And we can, if we were going to say we're going to work out more, that's easy to, hey, get busy, whatever. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, and not follow through. But hold yourself accountable to someone you respect. And I'll give you a quick example, personal one I've shared. When I first started my career, finances were a big problem. And I said to my wife, hey, if I made one, I was in sales back then. I said, if I make one sale, she likes going out to eat on the weekends. We'll go to McDonald's or something cheap. If I make 2 sales, we'll go to a nice regular place. If we go 3, your pick. Well, guess what? Guess where we end up going out most weeks? Because if I didn't step up and do it, because she liked going to those nice places, it motivated me, kept me accountable, and changed our life. Stay tuned to Your Personal Bank Show. Contact me at toll-free 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. This show is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information. The presenter and guest on this program do not engage in legal, accounting, or tax advice. Professional advice regarding your situation should be sought if required. Products and riders may have limitations and may not be available in all states. Excessive unpaid loans may affect performance. Distributions may become taxable if not managed properly. Replacements may not be suitable for everyone. There may be charges when replacing coverage. Compare when considering a replacement. Dividend rates and baseline of credit rates may change. Contact yourpersonalbank.com for current rates.